Sometimes what feels like rejection is really divine protection. Sometimes that delay you're complaining about, that detour that disrupted your plans, that person who suddenly disappeared from your life, those weren't random misfortunes. They were grace in disguise. You're not just being tested, you're being shielded. Right now, there are forces working behind the scenes that your eyes cannot yet see, but your soul can feel. There's a shift happening in your life, not to hurt you, but to guide you away from unseen danger and toward your true purpose. The universe, the divine, God, whatever name you give to that higher force, knows what's coming long before you do. And when it pulls you away from something you thought you wanted, it's not because you're not worthy of it. It's because that thing was never worthy of you. You see, protection doesn't always feel gentle. Sometimes it breaks you. Sometimes it tears away everything familiar until you're left standing in the ruins of what you thought your life was supposed to be. And it's in those moments, those raw, vulnerable, soul-stretching moments, that you begin to awaken. You don't see the full picture yet, but something inside you senses that there's more. And that feeling, that quiet nudge, is not your imagination. It's guidance. It's the whisper of the unseen, telling you, you're not lost. You're being rerouted. Think about all the times you were desperate for something to work out. A relationship, a job, a dream. And it didn't. At the time, it felt like failure. You might have even cursed the sky, asking why you were being punished. But look back. What came after was always better, wasn't it? Or at the very least, what came after shaped you into someone stronger, wiser, more aligned. That's the power of being protected from what you cannot yet see. You didn't know the heartbreak that relationship would have caused if it had lasted. You didn't know the stress and sickness that job would have inflicted if you had stayed. You didn't know the path you were fighting for was leading to a dead end. But your soul knew. And so the universe stepped in, not to ruin your plans, but to rescue your destiny. It's easy to trust when everything's going your way. But real trust, deep trust, is forged in the dark, when you have no proof, no plan, and no idea what's next. That's where your spirit learns to listen. That's where your faith becomes unshakable. Right now, you may feel stuck, confused, or abandoned, but you are not alone. You're being cocooned. What looks like stillness is sacred preparation. You're being kept in the waiting room of transformation because something ahead isn't ready for you yet. Or maybe you're not ready for it. And until the timing is divine, nothing will move. Not because you failed, but because you're being protected. You don't have to see the whole staircase to take the next step. All you need is the courage to trust the invisible, to know that life is not punishing you. It's positioning you. Every no is a redirection. Every delay is a detour around danger. Every ending is the beginning of something your eyes haven't yet adjusted to see. But it's there, and it's coming. And when it arrives, you'll realize why everything had to unfold exactly the way it did. So stop mourning closed doors. Stop replaying conversations that didn't go the way you wanted. Stop chasing what walked away. If it left, it was meant to. If it crumbled, it was supposed to. Let it go, not because it didn't matter, but because it was only meant to carry you part of the way. What's ahead requires a lighter heart, a freer mind, and a deeper faith. You can't take the weight of the past into your next chapter. It won't fit. You've outgrown it. There are blessings being built for you in rooms you've never entered. People who will love you in ways you've never known. Opportunities that will stretch you into your highest self. But first, you must make peace with the not knowing. You must find strength in surrender. That's the paradox of protection. You may never know what you were saved from, but one day, you'll look back and whisper, "Thank you." Not because everything was easy, but because every obstacle was a shield. Every detour was grace, and every moment of confusion was an invitation to trust the timing of your life. There's nothing wrong with you for not having it all figured out. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're not being punished. You're being shaped. And protection doesn't always come with explanations. Sometimes it just comes with silence. And that silence, though painful, is sacred. It's the universe's way of telling you to pause, to rest, to recalibrate. Because what's coming is bigger than what's gone. And if you could see what was being orchestrated for you behind the veil, you'd stop worrying and start preparing. So let this be your reminder. You're not forgotten. You're not forsaken. You're not failing. You're being protected from lies you believed were love, from doors that led to nowhere, from people who couldn't honor your soul, from environments that would have drained your light. And one day soon, everything will make sense. But for now, trust the unseen. Trust the delay. Trust the redirection. Because sometimes the greatest miracles are hidden in the things you never wanted but absolutely needed. And when they finally reveal themselves, you'll understand this was protection, not punishment. This was love, not loss. This was grace, not grief. You were always being guided, always being held, always being protected from what you could not yet see. There are moments when life feels like it's closing in on you, like every move you make leads to another closed door, another dead end, another letdown. And in those moments, it's easy to believe you're cursed, forgotten, or simply unlucky. But what if the truth is far more empowering? What if you're not stuck at all, but strategically paused for your protection? You're not being punished. You're being preserved, pulled away from timelines, people, and opportunities that were not designed to handle the weight of your potential. Because not everything that looks good is good for you. Not every open door is a blessing, and not every smiling face is safe. You're being protected from what looks promising but hides poison, from paths that would have derailed you, from temporary pleasures that come with permanent damage. Life has a way of protecting its most valuable souls, not by putting them on display, but by keeping them hidden until the right moment. You are that valuable soul. And the silence you're experiencing right now, the unanswered prayers, the ghosted calls, the failed plans, those aren't signs of abandonment. They're signs that your energy is being preserved for something sacred. You're not being sent backward. You're being held in a sacred space, just long enough for the wrong things to exit your path and the right ones to arrive. And when that moment comes, everything will click. Everything will align. Everything will make sense. Think of all the times you thought you were ready for that relationship, that opportunity, that breakthrough. And yet, things didn't go your way. Not because you weren't capable, but because the timing wasn't aligned. If it had happened when you wanted it, you might have settled. You might have compromised. You might have accepted less than you deserve. But protection says, not yet. Not because you're not ready to receive, but because what's meant for you isn't ready to be received by you. There's a mutual preparation happening, both seen and unseen. And when both sides are aligned, that's when the miracle occurs. It's tempting to chase, to knock on doors that clearly won't open, to beg for clarity, closure, or control. But real strength is in letting go. Real trust is in walking away, even when your heart doesn't have all the answers. You're not here to force outcomes. You're here to flow with divine timing. And divine timing has a way of bringing exactly what you need, exactly when you need it, even if it's not what you expected. Right now, the universe is removing distractions, cutting cords, ending cycles, not because you're unworthy, but because you're being positioned for more. You're being upgraded. And not everything or everyone from your current level can come with you to the next one. It's not personal, it's spiritual. Some doors are being closed for your evolution. Some people are exiting so your energy can finally be reclaimed. Some opportunities are being denied because what's ahead is far greater. And while it may hurt in the moment, clarity always comes in hindsight. One day, you'll be grateful for every unanswered prayer, every delay, every no, because they were not denials. They were divine protections. Let's be honest. If you had gotten everything you wanted exactly when you asked for it, would you have grown? Would you have evolved? Or would you have settled into comfort and never reached for more? Growth often comes wrapped in pain, in confusion, in uncertainty. But that doesn't mean you're lost. It means you're transitioning. You're being recalibrated. Because protection isn't always soft. Sometimes it strips away everything you thought was yours, so you can finally discover what truly is. And when you come out on the other side, you won't be the same. You'll be stronger, wiser, clearer, more in tune with your intuition, and more aligned with your purpose. So trust what's being removed. Trust what's not working. Trust the tension. Trust the pauses. Life isn't making a mistake with you. It never has. Even the worst moments were part of a bigger orchestration. Even the most painful endings were wrapped in purpose. And every closed door carried a message you couldn't yet understand. But soon you will, because protection is never wasted. It's always working, always weaving, always setting the stage for a future you haven't even imagined yet. You're not losing. You're shedding. You're shedding old versions of yourself, old dreams that no longer fit, old relationships that can't meet the new standards of your soul. That's not failure. That's transformation. That's sacred alignment. And it takes courage. It takes deep trust to release the life you planned and make room for the life that's waiting. But you're ready. You've been ready. And the universe knows it. That's why you're being positioned in this way. That's why certain things are being stripped from your grip, not to punish you, but to prepare you, to protect you. Because what's ahead is too important to be jeopardized by what's familiar. You are stepping into a space of clarity, healing, and divine flow. But to enter that space, you must surrender. Surrender the fight. Surrender the forcing. Surrender the fear. And in that surrender, you'll find peace. Not because everything is perfect, but because you finally understand. You're not meant to carry what's been removed. You're meant to trust that its removal is the very evidence of your protection. When the dust settles, when the pieces fall into place, when you look back on all of this, you will smile. You will cry tears of recognition. And you will thank the universe for every single thing that didn't work out, because it all brought you here. To this awakening, to this alignment, to this moment of becoming. And you'll know with every fiber of your being that you were never being punished. You were being protected from what you could not yet see. You're walking through a chapter of your life that might not make sense right now. The silence is loud. The waiting is long. And the reasons behind the chaos seem hidden behind a thick fog. But just because you can't see the purpose yet doesn't mean it's not there. You are being guided through a sacred in-between space, a space where things are shifting behind the curtain, where divine orchestration is happening moment by moment, quietly and precisely. You're not meant to understand it all yet, because if you could see what was being prepared for you, you'd be overwhelmed. That's how big it is. That's how sacred it is. So instead, the universe softens the impact by preparing your heart before revealing the full picture. You are being protected from what you're not yet ready to receive, and that protection is love in its highest form. It's not that you're being denied anything, it's that you're being aligned with everything. But alignment requires clearing. It requires space, and to make that space, the universe begins removing the clutter. Mental, emotional, spiritual. That's why certain people fade. That's why some situations collapse. That's why things that used to fulfill you now feel hollow. It's not because something is wrong. It's because something higher is coming. But it can't enter until you make room. And you won't make room until the old becomes uncomfortable enough to release. That discomfort you feel, that's not punishment. That's the nudge. That's divine discomfort. That's life saying, it's time to let this go now. You've come too far to stay stuck in cycles that no longer serve you. You've done the work, felt the weight, paid the price. And now, life is clearing your path. But before it fills it with the new, it's wiping away what would only get in the way. The universe isn't in a rush because what's being prepared is too valuable to be delivered prematurely. You are being positioned with precision. Everything is on time, even the moments that feel like delays, especially those moments, Because it's during the wait that your roots grow deeper. It's during the stillness that your intuition sharpens. It's during the silence that your strength matures. And all of that will be needed for what's next. You can't see it yet, but you're being upgraded in ways that transcend logic. Your soul is learning to trust without proof, to stand in faith without explanation. That's a powerful place to be, because when you walk by faith and not by sight, you become unshakable. You no longer depend on external signs to know you're supported. You feel it. You embody it. And that energy changes everything. Think back to moments in your life when things didn't work out, only for something better to come along later. That's not a coincidence. That's evidence. Evidence that you've always been protected, even when you didn't know it, even when you felt abandoned, even when you questioned if anything good could ever come again. Something better always came. Not always right away. Not always in the way you imagined. But it came. And it will again. The universe is not withholding your blessings. It's preparing you to hold them. Because what you're stepping into will require a version of you that's rooted, stable, and healed. That's why things are being stripped away. That's why you're being challenged. Not to break you, but to build you into someone who won't self-sabotage the miracle when it finally arrives. That's protection. That's the love behind the loss. The wisdom in the waiting. The magic of divine timing. You are not falling apart. You are falling into place. And the pieces may not look like they fit right now, but trust, there's a masterpiece being created with your life. One that only makes sense when you step back and see the whole picture. Every detail is intentional. Every detour has meaning. Every heartbreak held hidden healing. And every moment that didn't go your way was gently steering you towards something far better. So don't rush this. Don't fight the process. Let go of what wants to go. Release what feels heavy. Stop forcing connections that don't flow. Because your energy is sacred. Your path is sacred. And the moment you stop trying to control the outcome is the moment you align with the divine rhythm of your life. The people who left, they made room for better. The opportunities that slipped away. They cleared space for the real thing. The plans that fell apart. They revealed the truth of what was never stable to begin with. All of it, every bit of it, was protection. Even the parts that hurt, especially those parts. One day, you'll look back at this chapter with gratitude. Not because it was easy, but because it taught you how to trust without needing to see. Because it shaped you into someone who no longer panics when things don't go as planned. Because it gave you the eyes to see beyond the physical and feel the guidance of the spiritual. You'll be able to say, now I see it. Now I understand. I was never being punished. I was being prepared, positioned, and protected. So breathe, surrender, trust. The universe has seen what's coming long before you did. It knows the storms you've been spared from, the pain you avoided, the chaos you never had to walk through. And while you may never know the full extent of what you were protected from, you'll always feel the peace that comes when you finally let go and let life do its divine work. It's easy to question your path when everything feels uncertain, when you're doing the inner work, but the outer world still reflects confusion. When you've surrendered, prayed, healed, and waited, and yet the breakthrough hasn't come, that kind of waiting can feel unbearable. It tests every ounce of your faith. But what if the delay isn't a punishment? It's a setup. What if the universe is not just protecting you from harm, but positioning you for divine alignment so perfect, so precise, that not even a second can be rushed? There are blessings so massive in motion that the timing has to be exact. You're not stuck. You're in sacred alignment, and the waiting is not a void. It's a womb. Something powerful is forming inside the silence, and it's going to be worth every ounce of trust you've had to hold on to. The most misunderstood part of protection is the absence of clarity. We want reasons. We want explanations. We want to know why things didn't work out, why people changed, why doors closed. But protection doesn't always come with a sign that says, "This is saving you." Sometimes It just looks like heartbreak, like rejection, like endings that make no sense. But clarity is often delayed for the sake of your peace, because if you saw the full truth right away, it might crush you. So instead, life protects you by keeping the storm hidden until you're far enough away that it can't touch you. That's love. That's grace. That's divine mercy in motion. You might not have realized how much danger you were actually in, how close you came to settling into situations that would have drained you for years, how tightly you were holding on to things that had already expired. But life saw what you didn't. It stepped in. It rerouted you, and it made sure that what was ahead could never be contaminated by what was no longer meant to stay. That's why the collapse came. That's why the discomfort grew louder. That's why the path you once prayed for started closing itself off. Because it wasn't the destination, it was just a chapter. And that chapter had to end so the real story could begin. You're not broken. You're not cursed. You're chosen. And with that comes a level of protection that doesn't always look like peace. Sometimes protection looks like disruption, like chaos, like being thrown into the unknown with no map, because that's where you learn to listen. That's where you learn to trust. That's where you become attuned to your intuition in a way comfort could never teach you. The wilderness was never a punishment. It was a place of revelation. And right now, the divine is revealing you to you, stripping away every false identity, every illusion, every attachment that kept you small. You're being awakened, and awakenings are rarely gentle. But here's what's powerful. Every time something fell apart, something greater came together. Even if you didn't see it at first, even if the pain blinded you, somewhere inside, you began to realize that what felt like rejection was redirection. That what looked like failure was a sacred filter. That what you thought was being taken was actually being transformed. You don't lose what's meant for you. You evolve into it. And sometimes that evolution requires isolation, change, and deep discomfort. You're in the middle of becoming someone who can receive what they once only dreamed of. But the version of you who begged for it is not the same version who's going to hold it. You're being reshaped, refined, realigned, and that's why it hurts. Growth is not supposed to be cozy. It stretches, it challenges, it demands release, and the more you release, the more space you make for what's real, for what's aligned, for what can actually sustain your soul. So stop blaming yourself for what didn't work out. You didn't mess up. You didn't miss your moment. You're not being punished for your past. What you're experiencing is a recalibration. Life is not removing to hurt you. It's removing to heal you, to clear your field, to elevate your energy. Because what's coming will require a clean slate. It will require a version of you who no longer doubts their worth, who no longer begs for validation, who no longer sacrifices their peace for proximity to people who don't honor their presence. You're being separated, set apart, not because you're forgotten, but because you're being prepared to stand out. You were never meant to blend in. Your light was never designed to dim just to make others comfortable. And that's why life is protecting you now, even from yourself, from the part of you that still wants to go back, from the part of you that would rather settle than be alone, from the part of you that second guesses your own power. But this isn't the season to shrink. This is the season to trust, to honor what's falling away, to respect the redirection, to lean into the unknown with open arms and an anchored heart. Because you may not know what's next, but you do know this. You are protected. You are guided. You are loved. And even when it feels like nothing is happening, everything is. Your angels are working overtime. The universe is conspiring in your favor, and life is rearranging itself to meet your becoming. Don't rush the process. Don't resent the detour. Just keep showing up with integrity. Keep moving with faith. Keep protecting your peace, because what's meant for you is not just coming. It's being carved in gold, and it will not pass you by. There will be moments in your journey when the silence becomes deafening, when it feels like nothing is moving, nothing is changing, and the only thing growing is your doubt. In those moments, It's easy to believe that you've been forgotten, that your prayers have gone unheard, that your dreams were just illusions dressed as hope. But that's the exact moment you must lean in the most, because the silence isn't a sign that nothing is happening. It's a sacred space where transformation occurs behind the veil. The soil doesn't make noise when the seed breaks open. The stars don't scream when they're born. Miracles don't need announcements. They unfold quietly, humbly, and with divine timing. That's what's happening in your life right now. You just can't see it yet. You're not waiting for your life to begin. You're in it. You're in the very process of becoming the version of yourself who's aligned with everything you've been asking for. And that version can't be rushed. Because the moment you receive before you're ready is the moment you start to lose what you worked so hard to manifest. That's not a punishment. It's a pattern. One that the universe wants to help you break for good. You're not here to repeat old cycles. You're here to transcend them, to rise above what once pulled you under, and to become so deeply rooted in who you truly are that no storm can ever shake you again. That's why life is being so protective of you right now. That's why certain doors aren't opening. That's why some connections are being cut, because your future is too valuable to risk contamination. You're not being rejected. You're being preserved. Think about that. You're not being pushed away from blessings. You're being shielded from burdens disguised as opportunities. That person you miss so much, they may have been carrying energy that would have destroyed your peace in the long run. That job you didn't get, it may have chained you to a version of yourself that no longer exists. That situation that didn't go your way, it may have derailed the exact thing you were born to do. You don't see all of that in the moment, though. You just see the loss. You feel the ache. You hear the echo of a dream slipping through your fingers. And it's okay to grieve that. It's okay to feel everything. But don't build a home in the space of your heartbreak. Don't plant your identity in the land of disappointment, because the journey doesn't end here. This isn't the final scene. It's just the part where everything still looks chaotic before the masterpiece is revealed. And you've got to keep moving through it, even if you can't see the path. Especially then. Because faith isn't just believing when it's easy. Faith is walking forward when everything in you wants to give up. It's choosing to believe that something greater is on the way, even when you have no evidence. It's trusting that the delays are divine, the detours are protection, and the closed doors are redirections. That kind of trust doesn't come from logic. It comes from knowing, deep in your soul, that you are held by something far greater than circumstance. And if you've made it this far, through everything you've already survived, then that's proof that life is not against you. It never was. It was always working to bring you back to yourself, to remind you of your strength, to strip away everything that wasn't true so that only the truth of who you are would remain. You are powerful. You are intuitive. You are worthy of everything good. And the fact that you've had to walk through so much darkness just means your light is that bright. So here's what you need to know. The protection around you is not passive. It's active. It's intentional. Your angels are guarding you from things that could have broken you. The universe is shielding you from distractions that could have delayed your destiny. And your higher self is guiding you, always, toward alignment, even when your current self wants to quit. You are not alone in this. You never have been. You are surrounded by love, even in the moments it feels like you're walking through a void. There will come a day when everything clicks, when the pain you endured finally reveals its purpose, when the pieces fall into place, and the timing makes perfect sense. And on that day, you'll look back at this moment with so much gratitude. Not because it was easy, but because it shaped you. It woke you up. It prepared you to carry the blessings without breaking. And it reminded you that the most powerful version of you was never created during comfort. It was born in the fire. You don't have to know how it's all going to work out. You just have to believe that it will. And hold that belief like it's your lifeline. Because it is. That belief is what carries you through the unseen. It's what opens the next door. It's what magnetizes the miracles. So keep showing up. Keep trusting the process. And keep remembering that even when it doesn't make sense, you are being divinely protected from what you cannot yet see, for your highest good, your deepest growth, and your ultimate becoming. At some point, you'll realize the people who disappeared from your life didn't walk away. They were gently removed, not out of cruelty, but out of care. The universe heard the conversations you didn't. It felt the energy behind their words. It saw the trajectory of their presence in your life and understood where it would lead. And because you're being called higher, anything or anyone misaligned with your elevation had to go. Not because you're better than them, but because you're growing beyond what they can walk with. It's a hard truth, but it's sacred, because not everyone can go where you're going. Not everyone is built for the light you're about to carry. And some people are only part of your story for the chapter that just ended. You don't always recognize protection while it's happening, especially when it hurts, especially when what's leaving is something you prayed to keep. But not all prayers are meant to be answered with a yes. Some are answered with redirection. Some are answered with silence that saves you. Some are answered in ways that don't match your request, but perfectly align with your destiny. And that's what's unfolding around you now. Answers that don't look like answers yet. Protection that feels like pain. Freedom that looks like loss. But look deeper. Look at how life is carving out space in you. Look at how it's sharpening your discernment. Look at how you've stopped tolerating things that drain your spirit. That's growth. That's alignment. That's you returning to your truth. And the more you honor that truth, the more life begins to support you in ways you never imagined. You're being positioned for a life that reflects the fullness of your being. But that requires shedding everything that doesn't. This is why old patterns are becoming unbearable, why familiar cycles are collapsing, why the things you used to run to for comfort now feel empty. You're being weaned off of what was only meant to be temporary. You're being guided toward what's eternal, toward what actually sustains you. This is spiritual maturity, and it's not easy. It often requires you to stand alone, to walk away without closure, to trust what your spirit knows over what your eyes can see. That's not weakness. That's divine strength. That's the kind of power that can't be shaken by external shifts because it's rooted in internal knowing. So if you feel like you're in a season of loss, understand this. It's not a breakdown. It's a breakthrough in disguise. What feels like falling apart is really the scaffolding of your soul being rebuilt. And every person, place, or pattern that leaves now is making room for something more aligned, more expansive, more deeply connected to your soul. Let it go. Let it all go. The stories, the expectations, the timelines, the pressure to have it all figured out. You don't need clarity to be at peace. You just need trust. Trust that you're not being stripped. You're being upgraded. Trust that you're not behind. You're being refined. Trust that your path is sacred, even when it looks uncertain. Because protection doesn't always mean comfort. Sometimes it means being pulled away from the very thing you thought would save you, so you can discover the power that was always within you. That's what's happening now. You're being returned to yourself. You're being reminded of your own light, and everything that dims that light is being removed, gracefully, powerfully, divinely. There is a version of you that already lives in the timeline of your highest good, a version of you that's already met the right people, said yes to the right path, stepped into the right opportunities. You're not creating that version, you're aligning with it. And alignment often requires detours. It requires unlearning. It requires discomfort. But every tear, every ending, every unexpected turn is moving you closer to that aligned reality. You're not off track. You're on a hidden track, one that leads to everything you've ever wanted, just not in the way you expected. Because what's coming won't be like anything you've experienced before. It will feel different, lighter, truer, because it won't require you to shrink. It won't demand your silence. It won't ask you to betray your intuition. It will meet you where you are and elevate you to where you're meant to be. But you must be willing to stay open, to release the need to know how it all unfolds, to stop clinging to what's comfortable but stagnant, because the life you want lives on the other side of surrender. And surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means letting go of control. It means trusting that your protection is real, even when the path feels invisible. It means knowing that the unseen forces guiding your life have never let you down, and they won't start now. You are being carried. You are being shielded. And every no, every delay, every detour is for your good. So let your heart soften. Let your grip loosen. Let your faith grow. Because you're not just being protected from what you cannot yet see. You're being prepared to thrive once you are being prepared to thrive once you arrive.